Celebrate with us today. And to the class of 2014, first of all, I would like to say congratulations. Graduating from law school is quite an accomplishment. It's 3 or 4 long years of memorization, exam taking, and brief writing, and at the end you're rewarded with 2 solid months of nothing but bar study. But you have made it. You graduated. Now I have one piece of advice for you. Quit. Yes, quit. Let me explain. Many of you will go down one of the traditional attorney routes. You may work for a big firm, go into politics, or start your own practice. And I bet of the 70 or so of us here today, at least one of you who chooses a traditional law career someday in the future will think, this just isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. Heck, you may be thinking that about the legal field right now. So what if you are? Well, I'd like to share with you a few things about quitting that you may not have considered. First, quitting often requires overcoming the fallacy of sunk costs. This refers to the fact that people are often hesitant to quit something that they've already invested a lot of time and money into. So they'll continue to sink more time and money into it. Most of us at some point or another have hesitated to leave an investment or a relationship or educational pursuit, just because we've already dedicated so much of ourselves to it. A very basic example of this is food. You go to a restaurant and you spend money on a nice entree. About halfway through, you are super full. And you know that continuing to eat will make you feel terribly sick, but you do it anyway, just so not as have to waste the money you've spent. Well, whether or not you eat the rest of the food, you aren't getting your money back. By continuing to eat it, you have just now made yourself sick, but you are still financially at the same place you would have been had you just stopped eating. You gain nothing but a stomachache and an additional hour on the treadmill. You see where the rationale behind finishing the meal is flawed? Well, the same applies to jobs and careers. Having dedicated years of your life to a job you don't enjoy is by no means a good reason to dedicate more years to it. The years you already dedicated are a sunk cost you don't somehow get back by staying at that job. Now, in addition to sunk costs, quitting also involves opportunity costs. These are the costs of missing out on another option if you stay in your current situation. For example, if you stay in an unsatisfying relationship, you're missing out on the opportunity to be in a better relationship. And more appropriate for us here today, if you stay in a job that's not right for you, you're missing out on the opportunity to find one that is. Now, just because I made it through medical school and law school does not mean I'm not a quitter. I quit all the time. You see, I didn't start off in medicine or law. I was a multimedia designer, and frankly, not a great one. I was creative enough, but as technology advanced, you needed some hardcore coding skills to get ahead in that field, and they were skills I fully lacked and had no desire to acquire. So at age 21, I called my dad, and I told him the truth. That after doing undergraduate and graduate school in media arts, I wanted to quit. Thankfully, my dad fully supported my decision to explore a career change. And at some point he said, I always thought you'd be a doctor or a lawyer. Well, I put countless hours into deciding what my new career would be, and I came up with sports medicine physician. So I called my dad back weeks later, and I told him I was going to try to become a doctor. His response, I meant lawyer. Well, if you're wondering which one my dad is, he's the one in the sharp black suit smiling from ear to ear. So despite Pop's reservations about medicine, I was determined to get out of multimedia, so I quit. I looked past the sunk costs of my years of education and work in multimedia. By the way, I offered that if you look at something like education, it is never a total loss. If you decided to quit law tomorrow, could you honestly say you didn't learn something here that benefits your life? Even if it's just that the iTunes contract is probably not as binding as it sounds? I'm pretty sure if any education is beneficial to your life and most future careers, it's this one. And what if I had stuck it out in multimedia? I would never have had the opportunity to go to medical or law school, and I definitely wouldn't be here with you today. So how did quitting multimedia turn out? Well, I eventually made it through med school and residency and fellowship and became a sports medicine doctor. And it turned out that sports medicine doctor was in fact a dream job. Unfortunately, it was somebody else's dream. Because spending every Saturday night standing on the sidelines of sports I didn't understand, having to explain to frightened professional baseball players that their flu shot was going to hurt significantly less than their full back tattoo, was just not enjoyable for me. So let's review. After 2 years of prerequisites, 4 years of medical school, 3 years of residency, and a sports medicine fellowship, I was in a job I didn't like any more than multimedia. Some of you may have been in a similar situation. Or, after dedicating these years to your legal education, you may feel this way some point in the future. So what did I do at this point? I quit. Again. At the end of my sports medicine training, I turned down every sports med job I was offered. I worked on sporadic contract jobs and took part-time jobs until I found the position I have now. I currently work at the Veterans Administration, doing exams that get our former servicemen and women compensation for their injuries. I get to do something that I feel actually makes a difference. And because this job lets me make my own schedule, it has allowed me to do numerous things with my time that I had always wanted to do, like attend law school, which is how I ended up right here. I ignored the sunk cost of having done a sports medicine fellowship, and I allowed myself the opportunity to do something that would make me happy. And with this law degree, I plan to merge medicine and law into a consulting job that I'll love. So friends, classmates, loved ones, I ask you to join me in dumping the sunk cost fallacy. Because life is short only applies if you enjoy it. If you stare at the clock and count down the minutes till 5 p.m. every day, life can feel very, very long. So if someday down the road, you're sitting at work, staring at the clock, do me a favor. Actually, do yourselves a favor. Quit. Don't miss out on opportunities to find something that makes you happy, something that you find fulfilling. And if the saying, quitters never win and winners never quit, ever enters your head, I urge you instead to consider the following quote from Seth Godin. Instead of wondering when your next vacation is, you ought to set up a life you don't need to escape from. So best of luck, class of 2014. Go out there, pass the bar, get a great job, and quit until the life you want is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morski. Now it's my pleasure.